But on the other side of things, how much of a coincidence is this?
Hey, yes.
Genuine,
Is it truly a coincidence?
Genuinely, I put this on. I was going to wear a Christmas jumper to work today. I teach, and I was going to wear a Christmas jumper, but then we're actually having a day tomorrow where we wear a Christmas jumper. So I was like, oh, fuck it, I won't. And I was like, what jumper am I wearing? I was like, oh, I'll wear that one. And then I was getting a drink earlier on, and I was like, where did he say he was going? I was like, man, if he's going to Colorado, that is so funny. And I read back to the messages, and it was. It's pretty hilarious.
It's a great place to be. It's a great place to be. I'll tell you what, man. I'm so glad that we made this. We're temporarily for now. My fiance and I moved out of Miami in August, and the plan is to go back the end of January. But knock on wood, and I just got off the phone with my boss, who you've had on your show, Matt. And I'm continuing to give him the little like, hey, do we really have to go back to the office yet? Can we continue to stay? So we're looking for a permanent home out of here. To be honest.
Yeah, that would be. I suppose because like Wadapalooza in itself will say it's kind of seasonal, so you could probably get away with only being there maybe 1 month a year, or
Yeah, it gets intense. 2-3 months out of the year is when it's really important that we're all kind of in front of each other. But
yeah,
and also on the other side, like a big reason for why my fiance and I even came out here to begin with was we're out here for the CrossFit Summit before Eric officially transacted the business. So me and Matt were out here, and it was just a bunch of diverse array of affiliate owners and stakeholders in the CrossFit community, like Bill and Katie Henniger were out here among other people. And on the back end of it, I invited my fiance to come out. We've come to Denver a ton to snowboard in the winter, but we ended up spending the weekend after the summit together here. And we're like, well, why would we go back to Miami and on lockdown? But yeah, right now, I definitely feel like it was the right move. Have you been to Colorado?
no, my wife's parents actually lived there for her dad's a doctor, and he did. I'm definitely gonna say the wrong word, but like a residency or something. I don't know. He did something there.
That's right. Yeah.
For They were there for a good while in Denver.
In Denver, in the city. Okay.
Yeah. And then they used to go like skiing, and it sounds like it's the perfect mix. Fuck, maybe it was Boulder they were in.
Boulder's where the new HQ is, and it's like, dude, it's a 20-minute drive from Denver to Boulder. So
I'm naming the only two cities I know in Colorado, so it's one of them.
the only two I know too. So I think we're in the same boat. That's sad.
Are you on your laptop?
Yeah. It's a dark.
No, it's fine, but can you just tilt your screen slightly back just because you're being cut off like here?
Yeah,
so just
okay. Is that better?
Just for aesthetics.
Cool.
I was gonna say fucking typical, right? Every time I'm proactive and I think, all right, I'm gonna record an episode ahead of time and then release it so I have minimal stress the 3 days before the episode come out. CrossFit goes through some radical change. So I recorded an episode with Bill and Chase from Get With Programming. And I was like, right, we'll do a review of 2020 and we'll release it because my episodes come out every Wednesday. So I was like, it'll be the 30th of December. So like basically New Year's Eve. So we'll release an episode. It'll be covering the whole year, everything, the pandemic, all the sanctionals, the games, the online, everything. It'll cover everything. And then recorded it there like last week. Went really well. At one point we were saying like, I wonder what will happen next year. And we were like surmising all these things. And Chase actually pretty much had it nailed on the head. Like he was like, it'll be some like there was a few blurred lines, but he was thereabouts. So he's obviously had, like insider info. But then this week, fuck, why couldn't he just wait till the 1st of January? Like
we did know that this was coming as well as sanction organizers.
Yeah.
Trying to plan out the season. We've had pretty close communication with HQ. And they've done like everything but officially say what the change was going to be. But like, you can expect that the Open isn't necessarily going to be where it's scheduled to be right now. And we've seen some versions of the season that had included this kind of compressed version.
Is that just because in case all the gyms get shut down, or is that why they're doing that? Or
it's a COVID thing. Yeah, it's for sure a COVID thing. Right now, the U.S. is at a peak, and I think they're just trying to hedge their bets and make sure that they can function. And I don't know if you also saw the quarterfinal piece, which was also something that we kind of had a little bit of a foresight into prior to the announcement.
So that'd be similar to stage one then of this year, kind of, would it?
Yeah, that's 10% though. So I feel like, I mean, in my mind, I don't know if the elite of the elite are going to like it, but when you look at the intention of the Open is meant to be the most inclusive, community-driven event, um, cast the widest net possible to get everybody involved. But I do feel like over the last several years, HQ has missed the mark on the inclusivity piece. They've started to make the Open workouts a little higher skill, a little heavier. And I think that this will allow the Open to truly be that inclusive test like it had been in the past, which I do like the way the workouts were programmed previously, where as you got further along into like a chipper AMRAP, the end of it, the tail end of it would end up having muscle ups or a heavier barbell. But now you can make it the inclusive test. And then the quarterfinal will essentially be almost like the Masters, and this is the way that I'm perceiving it, the Masters or age group qualifier, where the loads can be heavier, the skill can be harder, and you're no longer pushing out the 90% of the community that are participating in the Open that are like, I can't do that anyway. So I think it's actually a smart move. I do.
Yes, it's definitely more inclusive when you put it that way. And I think 3 weeks, say even for gym owners, 3 weeks of the Open is a lot less stressful than 5 weeks, or you know what I mean? Like it's a lot easier to manage. Like obviously you've got, just at a guess, I'd say 2 workouts a week, 6 workouts total maybe. So then that's a bit more stressful. But I'm sure if you offered it to most box owners, they'll say, "Oh, I'll take 3 weeks over 5 just for the organization, the logistics." Like,
I bet it's gonna be a lot less equipment too. I bet it's gonna be similar to like the way we're running the trials, dumbbells and jump ropes, so that you don't have to, none of these gyms pose a risk.
Yeah.
But then I think again, the quarterfinal is where you're going to see the higher skill, heavier loads because it's a much smaller group of people.
Yeah, because you'd be able to have one person in the gym, or whatever.
Exactly, it's not going to be the 99% for sure.
And the other thing that interested me that I saw was the semi-final stage, like across 6 continents. Is that going to be a similar? Because I know when sanctions were announced, there was like a clamor to try and be like, "Oh, pick us," and like you have to kind of prove yourselves as like worthy of being a sanction or whatever, and jump through some hoops. Those hoops are already jumped through now, I assume. So I suppose now you just have to prove that Wodapalooza or Filthy 150 or whatever event is being talked about is more deserving than whatever other event is on the same continent.
Yeah, I think. Look, I really believe that the battle, quote unquote, like the competition to earn an event specifically in Europe is really fierce, because I don't know, did they announce the number of events in that?
Yeah, they did. I remember thinking.
I don't know. I don't want to say it out of turn if it hadn't been formally announced yet.
They did say something. I don't remember what they said.
So like when the season format was originally proposed, it had a lot more events, and I think they're just being conservative because of COVID. There was a lot more, and it's slowly shrunk down and down and down. I think they're looking at the number of quality events that they can muster in each of these markets.
10.
Yeah, so it's going to be 4 in the US, or 4 in North America, excuse me, 2 in Europe. And I just think that for the European events like our Madrid Championship, it becomes a tougher argument when you've got such quality events like Filthy 150, like Strength in Depth, like the French Throwdown. There's just so many good at that in Germany. There's just so many that I feel like it's a tougher sell. I do think in North America, when you look at our events, it's not official yet, but we're likely going to end up having to push Wodapalooza to a later date because of COVID. Like right now it's scheduled for May. So it won't even fall within the season window. So you don't have to worry about that event being part of the semi-final season necessarily. It may have some sort of affiliation separate from with CrossFit that's separate from the season. But specifically like Granite Games and West Coast Classic, we are seeking for those to be semi-final events. And if you look at the other events, there are definitely other quality events. But we're going through sort of a bidding process right now. Yeah, there's a little bit of a process for us to apply essentially, and for them to standardize the process rather than just like give them to their friends. And so I do like CrossFit's efforts in making it a more legitimate, standardized, selection process compared to what's been in the past.
And do you think then, obviously, we'll just assume that they don't make radical sweeping changes again next year, that this is like they're making their bed now for a few years anyway. Obviously the dates might change, they might move the Open back to where it was, or they might, like some little things might change if COVID pisses off. But like, say Wodapalooza now, you're saying it was scheduled for May. It's usually in January, February. It was scheduled for May this year, and then you're saying it might be pushed back again. So then would the door be open then next year, say, not that you, like, I assume picking one of your events is like picking one of your kids, but like if you could say, oh, well, actually Wodapalooza is more deserving than our other event X to have the place as a semi-final. Let's swap out those 2 dates and swap the locations or whatever.
I think Wodapalooza is such a finicky. Honestly, it really gave me anxiety to think that we were going to push to May, because weather in Miami is very unpredictable. It already is. Every year we've had pretty much rain in months of the year when there's historically no rain in Miami. The precipitation has been bad. So I think moving it to May is a huge risk, not just because of rain, but because of heat. It's just a less desirable time of year, I think, to be in Miami. So in reality, the goal would be to push it back to its original home. And I'll be honest with you, like, we welcome the affiliation with CrossFit, but we know that Wodapalooza as a standalone event outside of any season, outside of any affiliation, will continue to be successful. It's become the place to be in the US that time of year in the winter. We want to be a winter destination for the rest of the world, frankly. So I do think it deserves to be part of any sort of affiliation, but in our minds, it doesn't have to be, and we're not going to push too hard to make that happen. Like, if CrossFit wants us to be part of the season or wants us to be affiliated with them in some way, we're all for it. At the end of the day, though, like, we're perfectly content if it's not, to be frank.
Yeah, that's good.